New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Live from a secure concrete bunker somewhere in Ohio, New Thought Media Network presents Pastor Michael Mangus with Friday's Fireside Chat, spiritual conversation for today. Here he is from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands of watts, Pastor Michael Mangus.
Yeah, a little rock and roll music for you. Start off the Friday evening Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network. I am Reverend Michael Mangus, and I am broadcasting this evening from the top secret, super secure concrete bunker in the extremely secure secret radio room, surrounded by thousands, and I mean thousands of watts, and broadcasting to the world in a location where, even though the Reverend Dr. Robert Brzezinski has tried to find the top secret concrete bunker, he has not, to no avail. After 3 years of looking for it. And we're not going to tell him. Well, hi there. Good evening. Welcome. This is, again, the Friday evening Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network. I am Reverend Michael Mangus. Good to see everyone this evening. And once again, we do have a great show for you. Again, please feel to interact with us by posting your comments on Facebook and also on YouTube. And again, for all my shy people out there, I know you're out there. You don't put any comments in the chat, but you do watch the show. All right. Well, send me an email, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. So the purpose of our Friday evening Fireside Chat is to talk about contemporary issues from a new thought / spiritual perspective. And as I keep saying week after week, I want us all to have a new thought about what is going on around us, not only here in the U.S., but also globally. And you don't have to agree with me. I'm okay with that. I just want us to start thinking from that oneness that we talk about at our centers weekly. So our special guest, again, this week, because he works very inexpensive, and he's a good guy. All the way from the great state of Tennessee, we welcome back Divine Science Minister Jeff Radcliff. Jeff always has a comment or two on the news and how we can respond spiritually to all that's happening here in the world. Reverend Jeff Radcliff will be our special guest in the second half of our broadcast. Well, next weekend, we're going to play a best of, because guess where I'm going to be next weekend? I am going to be at the Dayton Hamvention in Dayton, Ohio, a spiritual event. It's the largest gathering of amateur radio operators in the whole world. Yes, and it's going to be really wonderful. Yours truly holds the license of Alpha Charlie 8 Tango Hotel, AC8TH. And it's going to be my privilege to go down there and to see all my friends down at the Dayton Hamvention. So again, usually over 30,000 of us gather from all around the world. So that's where I'm going to be next week. So that's the reason why we're having a replay. But again, if you could, I see a few people on board this evening. Again, if you would like to chat with us tonight, please feel free to comment. And now, the news. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that President Joe Biden made a mistake after the U.S. paused sending a shipment of bombs to Israel so that they would not be used in an invasion of the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Israel would fight with its fingernails if necessary, Netanyahu said in response. The Israeli military added that it has the weapons that it needs for its mission in Gaza, including the Rafah invasion, but a halt in U.S. weapons may significantly impair Israel's ability to achieve military objectives. Meanwhile, new satellite images shows that Palestinians have begun to flee Rafah's tent city in large numbers over the past 72 hours as the threat of potential major Israeli assault looms on their city. Also in the news, pro-Palestinian encampments were cleared from at least 3 college campuses early on Friday, marking some of the latest examples of schools using law enforcement to respond to demonstrations that have popped up across the country in recent weeks. So here are some of the latest developments. Police tear down tents at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or also known as MIT. Law enforcement began cleaning and clearing the encampment early on Friday, days after the university announced a set of disciplinary consequences for students who remained following a deadline to leave. An all clear has been announced at the University of Arizona. Loud munitions and also chemical munitions were used as the school's police department worked to clear an encampment from campus early Friday. A structure made from wooden pallets and other debris was erected on the campus property, which is a violation of school policy, officials said. And the university is set to hold a commencement ceremony Friday evening, according to its website. Also, police dismantled protest encampment at the University of Pennsylvania. Police ordered protesters to leave their encampment Friday morning. The student newspaper, the Daily Pennsylvania, reported that the university police gave protesters a 2-minute warning to disperse shortly before 6 a.m. The encampment, now cleared, has been up for 16 days. So as I've said on previous broadcasts here, there's a big difference between the policies of the Israeli government towards Hamas and the Palestinian and Jewish people. And many Jewish people from around the world are against the tactics taken by the Israeli Defense Force, or IDF, that has taken over 33,000 civilian lives. Governments from around the world are advocating for peace. My encouragement this evening is for peace and also to hear the voice of protest about the war as a cry for peace. Here is Reverend Jeff Radcliff's favorite story. The testimony of adult film actress Stormy Daniels, a central figure in the criminal case against former President Donald Trump, wrapped up on Thursday after Trump's lawyers continued their attack on her credibility. Daniels pushed back on claims that she was untruthful about her alleged sexual encounter with Trump in 2006, saying that the story was true, even though that she was confronted with inconsistencies in some of the small details about her account. Trump has denied the affair. And at the end of the day, Judge Juan Merchan denied two defense motions, one for mistrial that was based on the argument that Daniels changed her story about the alleged encounter, and also one seeking a modification on a gag order so that the former president could talk publicly about Daniels. Earlier in the day today, analysts for AT&T and also Verizon testified about call and subscriber records kept by the company, and former White House Madeleine Westhout testified how Donald Trump received checks. Next week, Donald Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, is expected to begin his testimony on Monday in the historic criminal hush money trial. Prosecutors have accused Trump of taking part in an illegal conspiracy to undermine the integrity of the 2016 election and an unlawful plan to suppress negative information. And that includes a hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels, paid through Cohen. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of falsifying business records. So the trial once again is about 45 and about cover-up and breaking the law, not Trump having sex with a porn star. And already there is a threat by Trump if he goes to jail and or loses the 2024 election. So the prayers for peace and dialogue continue. Why anyone, and maybe Jeff can explain this tonight, why anyone, especially evangelical Christians who have gone against their own values and they consider Jesus as being woke, I just don't understand. And there are books being released this summer on how to talk about the divide in the United States. Be looking forward to those books coming out come July. Also in the news this evening, Target to cut LGBTQ Pride Month products from same stores and from some stores after the backlash. Target stores won't sell LGBTQ-themed merchandise in some stores during Pride Month in June after a backlash dented revenue last year. The Minneapolis-based retailer says that it plans to offer Pride products in select stores based upon historical sales performance. They will also be available online. Now, Target is likely to stock the products in about half of its nearly 2,000 stores in the U.S. The company has typically sold the Pride assortment in all of its stores in the recent years. In a statement on its website, Target says that the items will be curated based upon consumer feedback and will include adult apparel, food and beverages, and also home goods. A spokeswoman for the company said Target is committed to supporting the LGBTQIA+ community during Pride Month and also year-round, adding that the company will have internal programs and also a presence at the local Pride events around the country to celebrate the observance. Target also faces threats from some customers last year over its Pride merchandise, including bathing suits that were designed for transgender people, and removed some of the items from sale. Advocacy groups then urged the company to put the products back on the shelves. Meanwhile, Anheuser-Busch InBev NV's Bud Light promotion featuring transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney sparked a long-lasting boycott. So change is going to come here, and it may have some opposition. And that yours truly walked in a Pride parade 5 years ago. And at that Pride parade were employees of Walmart, of Comcast, and also of the local electric utility. So things are changing. Now is not the time to let up. Now is the time again to let our voices be heard and also to continue our work in consciousness. In another story that Jeff and I talked about last week, in a final flourish, the United Methodists at their conference eliminated all anti-LGBTQ policies. The United Methodists concluded their general conference last Friday by removing the last barriers to full equality of LGBTQ plus members in light and in the life of the church. The reversals came in the wake of a schism that saw the departure of a quarter of its U.S. churches and more than 7,600 congregations over the past 5 years. After repealing a 52-year-old declaration on Thursday that the practice of homosexuality is incompatible with Christian teaching, delegates on Friday went further, eliminating a passage from their Book of Discipline or church law that states, ceremonies that celebrate homosexual unions shall not be conducted by our ministers and shall not be conducted in our churches. They also eliminated provisions that would have charged clergy with immorality if they were not faithful in a heterosexual marriage or celibate in singleness. Instead, the delegates supported adding a requirement of integrity in all personal relationships. In striking its punitive language on homosexuality, the 11 million member United Methodist Church joins the majority of the nation's liberal Protestant denominations, which have extended full equality to LGBTQ plus members in recent decades. Unlike other liberal U.S. Protestant groups, however, The United Methodist Church is a global denomination with a presence on 4 continents. And it remains far from clear how churches in Africa and also across the Philippines will respond to the new bold policy measures passed in Charlotte, North Carolina last week. Homosexuality is illegal in more than 24 African countries, and many overseas clergy worried that the relaxing of prohibitive policies on the LGBTQ plus people would put their church in direct conflict with government laws. And again, standing up for what is right here will continue to bring opposition. And sometimes doing what is right includes letting those with differing opinions go their own way. And I applaud my brothers and sisters in the United Methodist Church for doing the right thing based upon the teachings of Jesus and not the teachings about Jesus. Well, I'll have to save this story for Jeff. Pope Francis appoints a new bishop in Tennessee after former bishop's resignation under pressure. We may or may not get to that story. Jeff says I always go too long on the news. All right. Let's see who's commenting this evening. Well, hi there. Good evening. This is the Friday Evening Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network. I'm Reverend Michael. And let's see who's commenting this evening. Wayne Baldwin is saying that we should all return to divine love. Absolutely. Now, Pamela, what do you mean that he'll never find it? Oh, we have all kinds of opinions out there. Okay. Let us go to some announcements, and then we'll do a brief break, and then we'll be right back with our special guest commentator, the Reverend Jeff Radcliff. He'll be with us in just a few moments. Well, yours truly is currently parking himself at Summit CSL. For more information, please go to summitcsl.org. For more information on our wonderful Sunday gathering, that's online, Sundays at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific time. Yes, that's in the morning. So grab your cup of coffee, your tea, your espresso, your boba tea, whatever wakes you up in the morning, and please join us. Again, I really do believe that we have one of the best services in New Thought because we do balance the 3 M's. That's music, meditation, and message. And this Sunday, once again, we will have speaking our fearless spiritual leader, Diana Mangus, with a great message, part 2 of her series. So go to summitcsl.org for more information on how to join our Zoom call, and our service is also simulcast on the Summit Spiritual Center of Akron Facebook page, and our Facebook page also has past broadcasts on the Fireside Chat, and yours truly when he is praying on the New Thought Media Network. Okay. Time for a break here. Hold on. We have more comments here. The cosmic Christ loves me. Oh my. Okay. Again, there's people watching and commenting. That's really good. So we're going to take a quick break here and we'll be right back. This is the Friday Evening Fireside Chat here on your, and I mean your, New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are his own and do not reflect the views and opinions of New Thought Media Network, Centers for Spiritual Living, or any other person living or dead. As they say in the 12-Step Recovery Program, take what you like and leave the rest. Here again is Pastor Michael.
And the voice on that is my friend Jay Silvers. And I talked to him today, and he had his house struck by lightning 3 weeks ago. He had an antenna outside that got struck by lightning, and that the house did not catch on fire. Thank goodness. That's what happens when you have antennas outside, huh? Jeff Radcliff, hello there. Welcome to the Friday evening Fireside Chat. How are you doing this evening?
Better than him. At least my house is grounded. So he needs to make sure that antenna is grounded.
Yes, and he did, and he said that knowing him, he probably he has been online and has been doing all kinds of things. He'll spend thousands of dollars to make sure that doesn't happen ever again.
It's ironic. It's ironic that you brought him up, because a while ago, as I was anticipating, coming onto the show, and then I'm listening to the intro, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder who this guy is that Reverend Michael got to say all those lies about him. And how much did he pay him to lie about, the concrete bunker and the thousands and thousands of watts of power?
Thousands.
Yeah.
And I mean thousands of watts.
Now we know who's on the take out there. And he must be like me. He must work cheap.
The legal limit for amateur radio operators is 1,500 watts, with most operating around 100 watts. And some operate what's called QRP, which is low powered, 5 watts or less. And with 5 watts or less, you can talk to the world. It's amazing what happens when the stars in the sky and all the propagation gods line up. You can talk to the world with 5 measly little watts.
Yeah.
So,
and speaking of the stars in the sky, you missed the biggest story of all that happens tonight.
Which is?
The solar flares that are going to kick off Aurora Borealis, which could potentially be seen as far south as Alabama.
And I hear that you in Tennessee have a good spot to view it.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I'm in the northern part of central Tennessee, of middle Tennessee, so I might see something. Of course, the farther south you get, the more on the horizon the lights will appear, as opposed to being up above you, the farther north you are.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and my horizon is pretty much blocked by a hill. It's a rolling hill, but it's a hill. It's not like the West Virginia hills. It's just more of a hilllet. Hill.
Okay.
Hill.
It's not like a mountain.
Not at all. Not at all.
All right, Jeff. Pick a story and run with it.
I don't know anything about what's going on with this new Catholic bishop. All I know is that there was a new one appointed, and the old one was not diligent, I guess, in following through on it. What's the word I'm looking for? Investigating.
Hey, I'm ahead of you.
Yeah. So that's about all I know about that. So we can just say, welcome aboard, Father, whatever your name is. I don't even remember.
Well, Pope Francis appointed Reverend James Mark Beckman as the Bishop of Knoxville. Not Knoxville, it's Knoxville, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Almost a year after the previous bishop resigned under pressure following claims that he mishandled sex abuse allegations.
Right.
Bishop-elect Beckman is a priest in the Diocese of Nashville, close to where you're at, Jeff, where he had served as a pastor of St. Henry's Parish since 2015.
Looks like a nice guy. I love his hoodie.
Oh, you... See, they get to wear cool clothes.
They do, right?
Like the bishop there. That is Bishop Richard Stitka, who resigned last June, closing a turbulent chapter for the Southern U.S. Diocese that was marked by a remarkable revolt by some of its priests. What happened is that a group of clergy went ahead and petitioned the Pope and said, we need, quote unquote, merciful relief from this guy, citing mental health issues and sparking a Vatican investigation that led to the bishop's removal.
I can get behind that part of it because, kind of shifting gears a little bit and moving toward the United Methodist Church thing. It looks like the church has finally decided to give some of that mental health relief to those of us who were being driven absolutely bonkers by this whole idea that there are people out there in the world who do not deserve or are worthy of the grace of our Creator, which just floors me. So, what a great segue from the Catholics to the Methodists.
Well, the other thing too is that for me, what the story brought up was feelings that I was very close to a Catholic priest who was accused of sexual misconduct when he was the chaplain at a boys detention center up in Cleveland. And that what happened is my mother knew about my relationship with this reverend. And I asked her, I said, why didn't you ask me about it? And she says, well, she asked one of her Catholic friends who said, now, Etta, we don't want to stir up anything. Just keep it quiet. So, and the reason being is because nobody wants any trouble. Nobody wants to shine the light of truth on that. There's been some bad apples in the Roman Catholic Church. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, but there are bad apples in every other denomination as well.
Right.
And you can try to keep it quiet if you want to. Even the Master Jesus said that what was whispered in the shadows, in the secret, would be broadcast, would be shouted from the rooftops. So, like Scripture says, you can be sure your sin will find you out. Sin, metaphysically, being the mistaken thoughts that we have, and they will find you and they will manifest. There's no such thing as how was it that there's no such thing as, oh my goodness, I'll have to look up the quote because I'm drawing a blank on it. It was Reverend Sally Taylor it was actually a misquote or maybe it was a paraphrase.
Okay.
That she had said from, I believe it was Emmett Fox. She said something to the effect of, "There's no such thing as unexpressed consciousness or unmanifest consciousness," which is kind of sort of what Emmett Fox was saying. But basically, because we believe in New Thought that everything that is manifested in the world comes from our consciousness, comes from our thoughts and our thinking and the emotions that are generated by those thoughts. That's what propels the creations of our life to come forth into manifestation.
Yes.
So there's no such thing as an unexpressed thought. Because it will express in the physical world.
Absolutely.
And so, we may not want to talk about some of these things. We may not want to stir the pot. We may not want to make waves, but it doesn't matter if we do or not. It's still going to come out. The truth always comes out.
And talk about the truth coming out. I'm in a prayer group about a year ago. And anyhow, we were talking about Akron, Ohio, and one of the members of my group said, do you know Dr. James Finley? Dr. Finley is a very well-known writer on Christian mysticism and also meditation. And he was also my second grade teacher. And
Really?
one of the things that just kind of baffled me was why he left the Trappist monastery. And so I found out in a book that he wrote that one of the reasons that he left was because his spiritual director was hitting on him and asking him for sexual favors. So he left. Again, he was a student there and had conversations with the great Thomas Merton. So again, for him to leave, that I didn't see any reason. Again, even back in second grade, I said, why would you leave the wonderful world of the Trappist to come back to deal with second graders at St. Martha's School? Go ahead, Jeff.
Because second graders don't hit on you like adult men. And this is a shortcoming of Christianity in general, no matter what the denomination. When you try to enforce something like celibacy, it always backfires. It's on par with this celibacy and not wanting to teach about birth control or having sex education in the schools. Wherever there is wherever there are programs that push that agenda, you invariably have more unwed teenagers. It's been shown. Would the church be better off? Would the Catholic Church be better off if they allowed their monks to drop the vow of celibacy, allow the straight ones to get married, allow the gay ones to enter into a relationship with somebody else? Which brings us to the whole LGBTQ thing. So it all circles around. It's all a part of itself. It's all just the one big thing. And I think in that respect, that's where the United Methodist Church is finally getting it right, to offer grace to LGBTQ clergy to be who they are and allow them to minister from the pulpit, to allow them to consecrate same-sex weddings.
Mm-hmm.
Paul says in the New Testament that there is no male or female, there's no Greek or Roman or whatever. There's no whatever you want to use to divide people. It does not exist, because we are all one in the Christ mind.
Right.
So, so to try to make separations, us versus them, to make people the other, is to demonize them. And that is not what our teaching is about. That is not what the Christ teachings were about. The Christ teachings were about love, and to understand that we are one with Spirit.
And that also brings up another story of, I think it was a couple of years ago, that a couple approached me, two wonderful women, and they wanted to get married. And she told me that her dad was a retired United Methodist minister. And I asked her, I said, well, why isn't Dad doing the ceremony here? And she said, if he did, this is a couple years ago, that he would lose his pension. Mm-hmm. So I went ahead and I made a phone call to the local Unity Church, and we were able to use their outdoor gazebo. And he was able to walk her down the aisle. However, that he could not at all participate in the ceremony. So again, I am with you in that I am so glad that the United Methodists, like the Episcopalians and other denominations, have said, listen, we really need to take a serious look at really what the scriptures are saying, mm-hmm. and that we need to reverse some of this. And it's interesting that most of the denominations who have also switched their LGBTQ doctrine has also included women. Mm-hmm. That women oftentimes are the ones that kind of lead the way, women clergy. And again, in the Southern Baptist tradition, they still do not allow women in the pulpit. So I think
although some of their most effective missionaries back in the day were women.
Absolutely. But again, it's because of this Christian patriarchy that, and again, a misinterpretation of Paul's writings that, and I mean, there's so, and I've read several books about the damage of certain religions, certain Christian denominations. For example, the purity culture that I was reading a book from a perspective of a journalist who went ahead and interviewed women who she grew up with about how purity culture really messed them up as far as developing a healthy sexuality. I mean, going to your wedding night and not knowing about how to have sex because the thinking was that if they did, then they would go ahead and do it. So again, it's just the mindset of all this. And again, getting back to the whole idea of the Christian patriarchy, another book that I've recently purchased was about how women in some of the fundamentalist homes are groomed to be these obedient, godlike women who are Proverbs 31 women. Read Proverbs 31, class. That is your that is your assignment for this evening. To be this dawn until dusk, never sleeping woman, and also having to stay in relationships that are abusive because the man, again, is the head of the household and beats her up. So what some of the well-meaning pastors, including John MacArthur, said, again, with one of his congregants, he said, you have to go back to a wife who was being abused. So your comments on that, Jeff Radcliff?
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Of John MacArthur?
Of any of that stuff. I can't remember the name of the pastor. I saw something about him online the other day, and I listened to what he had to say. Basically, somebody had posted a portion of one of his sermons where he was talking about how he does not allow his wife to read any books until he has read it first and gives his approval of it. And the book, and he mentioned one of the books that he caught her reading was on paedo baptism versus credo baptism.
Okay.
And basically what it is, if you don't know the difference, paedo baptism is the baptism of infants.
Yes.
And credo baptism is waiting until the child comes to an age of reasoning and can make an informed choice for him or herself whether or not they want to be baptized.
Yes.
And apparently he's not one for infant baptism. And so he made his wife stop reading this book on paedo baptism because it was something that he didn't believe in.
Okay.
Yeah. So that whole spirituality and the way that they want to run things just kind of goes counter to everything that I understand spirituality to be.
Could you imagine having an abused woman coming into your office and then you citing Paul's letters, sending her back to abuse? I
take a dim view.
Blows my mind that again, that's still being done.
Yeah.
In Baptist and also evangelical churches.
Paul gave us a lot of interesting stuff to look at from a metaphysical standpoint, because as metaphysicians, we look at what's behind what is superficial to our eyes to see, what's deeper there. But the thing of it is, Paul wrote a lot of the stuff that he wrote. Number one, he never met the Christ, never met Jesus. And they were pushing Paul's writings before the writers of the gospel even wrote their gospels.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we've got is not really Christianity. We've got Pauline anity, you know. So
Yes.
in that respect, there's that. But Paul did give us some really good food for thought if we take the time to see the metaphysics of it, to look behind it, to understand what it really means, and not that surface level stuff that he was trying to push on us.
Absolutely. We're talking
And
this.
there's
Go ahead.
and I do have to say this, and this pisses people off. And you know what? At this point in my career, I really don't care. There is
Go ahead.
there is one power, there is one presence, there is one life in this universe, and we can call it God, you can call it spirit, you can call it the universe, you can call it whatever you want to. But each and every person on this planet is a manifestation of that. That each and every one of us is an expression of that. We are allowing that eternal beingness to come through us individually. Now, you might not like that Jeffrey Dahmer was also a child of God. You may not like that Adolf Hitler was a child of God, but guess what? They were as much a child of God as everybody else out there. Me, you, the people who are on here commenting. And I see some comments that are anti-religion, and that's okay, and that's fine. But you know what? You can't separate the baby from the bathwater. It's all one thing. And that's where the love comes in. That's where the love comes in.
Absolutely.
So you know, we don't have to like Jeffrey Dahmer. We don't have to approve of anything he did, and I do not approve of anything that he did. But I cannot look at a picture or think of what was going on with him without seeing that inner Christ within him, that he chose a lot of paths and made a lot of decisions that almost the rest of us, 99.9% of the world, would not have made.
Mm-hmm.
But he was no less God incarnate than we are. And
he made, again, a few decisions that, were not of love. So
yeah, but for us to separate ourselves from him because we didn't like what he was doing,
right.
We need to let our light shine before men, that they can see our good works. And I appreciate that comment from Wayne. Unfortunately, some people just choose not to do that. Doesn't mean that the light's not there, because the light is still there. We just can't see it. They've chosen to hide it. And so whenever I look at these other churches that condemn the United Methodist because they have decided to allow grace to LGBTQ people, they're hiding their light.
Right.
They're hiding their light. Whenever I think of Bishop, what's his name, who stepped down because of the sex abuse things, he could have done better. He chose not to. He hid his light. It is what it is. We have to allow people that grace to be who they are, even if they make decisions that we might think are wrong, that we might not approve of. We still have to go back to the idea that there is just one thing going on, and that is spirit.
Yes.
If we can do that, then we can start to see these broken pieces coming back together again, to make a whole, to make oneness.
Absolutely. You're not going to believe this.
We're out of time. Every time you say, you're not going to believe this, I know exactly what's coming next. We're out of time.
We're out of time. And Jeff, I do not invite you on just because you work inexpensively.
Oh, yes, you do. No,
I
you're
don't.
right.
No,
You're
I
absolutely
don't.
right. You're absolutely right. You also invite me on because you can't find anybody else to do it. And you know I cannot say no to you.
I invite you on because that your comments are very insightful, including the last one.
And
So that's the reason why.
Drop an F-bomb or something like that, so that
if you
talk to Reverend Dr. Robert on Monday and have him chew you out because you couldn't keep me on a tighter leash.
No, you know what he's going to have me do? He's going to have me order from Broadcast Supply Warehouse that 7-second delay.
Oh, daggone. Anytime there's going to be a 7-second delay involved, I can't do the show anymore. So,
okay. Well, you know what? We are live. We are raw. We are right where it's at. So again, thank you again, Jeff. And really appreciate you. Love you. Thank you for shining your light in the world. It is a very important light, and I very much appreciate you shining and helping us out here on our network. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, let's see what else Wayne's saying this evening.
Wayne's got going on.
So what is Matthew 5:16? Is that about the light?
That's shining your light.
Shining the light. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure what you're talking about though, Wayne, when you mentioned that the Terrans, I'm assuming that we're talking about Earth people.
Yeah. Wayne says some interesting things. Yeah. Okay.
Well, and it's not just Terrans, it's not just Earth people that care. Whatever else might be out there in the universe, still a child of God, a child of the one Creator. They are us.
Yeah, we're going to let Wayne have the last word. He said that love is the creative force of the universe.
And leaders light the way. Awesome.
Yeah, there he goes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, leaders light the way. There you go, right under that. All right, sir. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yes, really, again, wonderful to have you with us this evening and always commenting. Thank you. All right. Boy, time flies when you're having fun. So I'm not going to be here next week. So we'll have a replay of a very special broadcast I did a couple of weeks ago on that. You are a spiritual broadcasting station to commemorate the Dayton Hamvention. So I'll be down there having a great time. And so again, thank you so very much. Thank you for your support of our network. Thank you for watching. Please tell others about all the great programming here on New Thought Media Network. On behalf of all of us here, I am Reverend Michael. I'm going to wish you a very pleasant good night and also to have a wonderful week.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Friday's Fireside Chat with Pastor Michael Mangus. Join us again next week at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain for more spiritual conversations for today. For more information and replays of past shows, please visit the New Thought Radio and Media Network's Facebook page. Until next week, may God bless you richly and abundantly.